For the first time, the diary of detainee written from inside Guantanamo Bay prison has been made public. It describes in detail how he was tortured and abused by guards, and it came to light after a 6-year legal battle. And the author, Mohamedou Ould Slahi, is still incarcerated despite being cleared for release in 2010. Here's an extract read by actor Dominique West.
One of them hit me hard across the face and quickly put the goggles on my eyes, earmuffs on my ears, and a small bag over my head. They tightened the chains around my ankles and my wrists. Afterwards, I started to bleed. I thought they were going to execute me.
Slahi was seized by U.S. agents in his native Mauritania in 2002. In his diary, he describes how it felt to be imprisoned without charge. The editor of the paper says despite Mohamedou's ordeal, the manuscript is still written in a forgiving voice.
He was one of 2 so-called special projects in Guantanamo whose interrogation plan was sort of meticulously designed ahead of time, written down, and ultimately signed off on and approved by the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld. And then his interrogators, of course, kept very detailed records of how they implemented this plan. So, we've known broadly what happened to him. I think for me, while it was difficult to work through that material, the interesting thing was, his approach to his situation is so much different from what you would expect. He's a deeply humane person. He's a very curious person. He's a very forgiving person. And he's a very social person. And so I was sustained in working through this book because of the depiction that he gives of his captors, of himself, that sort of regains some of the humanity that was, negated by the treatment that he received.
While imprisoned, Slahi learned English, his 4th language. He had plenty of time to practice it during constant interrogation. And as you can see from some of the pages here in his book, there's some blacked out areas that U.S. officials cut parts of in the text to protect the identities of individuals who are accused of torture. Slahi's lawyer says the abusers of his clients should be prosecuted.
The government of the United States has exposed that it tortured Mohamedou. There have been long reports written about it, and that's why we're able to get this book. What's new about this book is that you're hearing it from his side. You're hearing the same thing the government has said that it did to him. He's describing how he felt. It's very important to understand that my client's been in Guantanamo since August of 2002. He's never been charged with a crime, ever. He's not charged with any crime now. The torture was ordered by the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld. It was the Secretary of Defense who ordered these special interrogation measures against Mohamedou that actually were torture. I believe that the government of the United States should begin to pursue prosecutions against those people who have committed torture. However, our purpose is for the world to see this from Mohamedou's point of view and for him to be released.
On the way, the U.S. state media chief mentions RT alongside hardline Islamist groups. More on that just after this break.